Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dragon Talk. We are going to do a fun Lore You Should Know recording. We're probably going to try to get to 2 today. We are without Mr. Matt Cernit, which is no bueno, but he had to run, so we switched it up to topics that Mr. Perkins wants to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, so it should be fun. We'll get right into the recording right now, I guess. We'll do that. Probably should have just started it from the get-go, but for some reason I just like talking to people, and I didn't let you know ahead of time, did I, Ryan? I'm a terrible person. You get to see the sausage. It's all happening here in real time. All right, so then we will get right into welcome to another segment of Lore You Should Know. My name is Greg Tito, and this is the segment where I jump into talking about little bits of D&D lore with these amazing lore masters usually, but today we only have one.
That's right.
Mr. Chris Perkins.
I will try to carry the load.
You shall carry Matt Cernit's load, and...
Take 2. Wow.
Hopefully he's watching at home, so it doesn't come off weird. We're like, hey, Matt, we have to tell you about what I said. Welcome to Lore You Should Know. My name is Greg Tito, and I am joined by only one lore master today.
Yep.
Mr. Chris Perkins.
Yep. Happy to be here.
Matt Cernit will not be here on this particular one. That's why we picked particularly...
He's had enough of us.
Yes, he was like, I'm out. Yeah. But also wanted to make sure we had stuff that you could talk about. So
we can talk about anything.
You can talk about anything.
Yep.
And I'm going to throw Mordenkainen at you.
Okay.
He is a wizard from the world of Greyhawk.
Oh, yes.
One of the 8. In fact, he created the Circle of 8. Is that right?
Yes, he did. He also created the Citadel of 8.
Oh.
So what's the difference, you ask? Well,
yes.
First of all, for those who don't know, Mordenkainen was Gary Gygax's wizard character.
He played with it, or did he only use it as a dungeon master?
So early in the 70s, before the game that we know released, he ran a D&D campaign set in his world of Greyhawk for his friends, and he decided that he was going to take a break and give the DMing duties over to somebody else for a short time. And so he took a hand at playing a character, and the character created for himself was a first-level wizard named Mordenkainen. And that character pretty much carried him through his entire time at TSR until the time when he left. And he left not only TSR, but Mordenkainen behind and moved on to other things. But Mordenkainen has survived the ages. And
I didn't know that.
Over the course of history, both real and imagined, has grown in power.
From the lowly beginnings at first level.
From his lowly first level days, and anybody who's played first edition, like early edition D&D, knows how frail first edition characters are. So it's really a matter of luck that he has survived until now, but maybe not all luck, because Gary Gygax can pretty much do what he wants. So Mordenkainen was his character, and he became part of an adventuring party. The leader of the adventuring party nominally, that was called the Citadel of 8. And they went around doing all kinds of mischief, getting into all kinds of trouble and getting treasure and magic items and all that kind of thing. And that party grew to include a wizard who became Mordenkainen's apprentice named Bigby.
Now, was that also a character, like a player?
Player character, yeah.
Okay.
Tensor, another notable wizard, joined that party. And then they also had some fighter types in Robalar and Irag, and a couple clerics, which is always wise in first edition, named Certain and Rigby. Not to be confused with Bigby. And
played by the same person, probably.
Right. And then there was the Ranger Otis, the seldom spoken of Ranger Otis. And they were the Citadel of 8.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, so they were the group was called the Citadel of 8.
That's right, because there were 8 of them.
And so what was the Circle
of 8? They were tough. So after that campaign, I guess, ended, a number of products were created in the D&D line that included Mordenkainen in them in one way, shape, or form. Probably the most notable one was an adventure from first edition called Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure. Which statted up Mordenkainen in the back of the book, and you could run him as a character through the adventure with some other people that you may or may not be aware of.
Right.
Those were not his official stats, by the way. Gary Gygax never shared the official stats for Mordenkainen.
I was going to ask that. So that's
Other
not
people-
like his character sheet
Correct.
translated?
No.
They just made up
No,
stats?
people had to make up stuff because he didn't share his character with anyone.
Why was that? Do you know?
Because I guess he felt like it was a kind of a private thing.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, we get so public
yes.
with our character sheets, but you're right. There is a.
So if you've seen Mordenkainen stats in print, chances are they are not, in fact, the real Mordenkainen stats.
Interesting.
Yes.
I like
but,
that level of mystery.
Right, exactly. And so you could play him in some way, shape, or form. And it was in later products that this idea of the Circle of Eight came around. And it's not clear whether Gary had any hand in its creation. But later things, I think it was like the From the Ashes box set or one of the later box sets for Greyhawk, basically positioned Mordenkainen as this super powerful mage who basically starts the Circle of Eight as a group of wizards only,
Yeah.
to basically kind of be this Star Chamber, secret council, kind of working behind the scenes to control empires and keep the power where the power should be and to take it away from people who can't handle it and things like that. And that included some old members of the Citadel, like Tensor and Bigby, and then some new wizards.
So they didn't include, but they didn't include the fighter types and the Otis in those lists.
No,
Okay.
no.
So they were all wizards.
And some of the original founding members of the group, the Citadel, had died off by then, like Certain, creator of Certain's spell immunity, the spell. He perished in a battle called the Battle of Emerald Meadows, which was a great battle that the Citadel fought in. And
Now, was that a game session of Gygax and his crew, or was that immortalized later in a novel?
so I believe it was actually part of the campaign and then was sort of name dropped in Temple of Elemental Evil.
Ah, okay.
The adventure that Gary wrote with Rob Kuntz. In that adventure, the mention of the rise of the temple leading to adventurers and the forces of good converging on the temple to destroy it, that battle played out in a place called Emerald Meadows.
Oh, I see. Okay, that was the way to.
Yep. Yes.
Got it.
The only time that Emerald Meadows has been explored in a project was in issue 221 of Dungeon Magazine, where there was an adventure called the Battle of Emerald Meadows where you could actually play it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so once it morphed into being more of the Circle of Eight.
By then, Mordenkainen was part of the D&D IP, and all kinds of people were using it. All kinds of designers were inserting him into adventures and things. And in fact, he showed up in some very unusual places. Dragon Magazine had a long-running series written by Ed Greenwood, grandfather of the Forgotten Realms. The series was called The Wizards 3, where Elminster, Mordenkainen, and Dalamar from the Dragonlance setting would all meet in Ed Greenwood's kitchen in Canada and trade stories and banter back and forth as wizards are wont to do.
I love that as like a meta thing that encompasses both our real world and something you
Right.
almost touched in the most recent Acquisition Incorporated
Yes.
show, in which
Yes.
like, oh, they're here in
And we consider those articles, as weird and bizarre as they are, to be kind of semi-canonical elements of the world of the multiverse. This concept that you can get from the Forgotten Realms to Greyhawk to Canada,
Yeah.
and that they can all coexist in the same material plane.
So it's only Canada and the Pacific Northwest that people can go to, right? That's Did you work on those? Were you an editor on those?
No, I was just a young upstart freelancer when the Wizards 3 articles were given birth. But having survived as long as I have, and I continue to work with Ed Greenwood, we have done things since. Like, for instance, if you've read Ed Greenwood's last novel, Death Masks, it takes place in Waterdeep, but Mordenkainen appears in it.
Oh.
So that was me asking Ed if he would, hearken back to the good old days, to those articles, and rekindle that sort of friendship.
That's cool.
Yeah. Just so people know that it still existed.
And then you also, did some of that with some other recent adventures with in Curse of Strahd, for example.
Yes. That's sort of the most recent place in our RPGs where Mordenkainen has been, spoiler, where Mordenkainen has made an appearance.
Hinted at, anyway.
Yes. Well,
right?
no, he's there.
Okay.
And he's named, and you can actually meet him, and he can walk around with you. In fact, when I was running Curse of Strahd in my live stream game, Dice Camera Action, Mordenkainen appears and helps the Waffle Crew out of a tight spot, and Sam Witwer, who is a big D&D aficionado and fan, brilliant actor too, got him to play the role, which is
Footnote,
great.
he's a good actor.
Which is great because he knows the history of D&D so well that he can kind of authenticate some things, and he gave it like Gary's voice and.
Oh no way!
Yeah,
I didn't realize that he was mimicking Gary's voice.
Yeah, he was an homage to Gary's voice. So,
that is super cool.
Yeah.
So, people might have read, if you know none of that history, you might have at least seen some of the spells that bear Mordenkainen's name in D&D lore for a long time, right?
Yeah, and several of them have survived into the present edition. Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion is probably the favorite, which allows you to create an extra-dimensional mansion that you can hide out in that your enemies can't get at you inside of.
It's not just a portable hole. It's an actual mansion.
Yeah, it's got all the decor and everything else. So you feel very important all of a sudden.
Now, we kind of glossed over this, but like, what kind of a person was Mordenkainen? What was his personality?
I don't know his personality as portrayed by the Grandmaster of D&D himself, Gary Gygax, but in print, he has been described as a dick. A bit of an ass. And that's because the nature of Greyhawk and the types of heroes that typically come out of Greyhawk tend to be more kind of self-serving and self-interested and self-directed than a lot of other campaign settings. In Greyhawk, your job really is as an adventurer to go out, kill monsters, and take their stuff. And taking stuff and becoming more powerful are kind of like the hallmarks of that setting. And I believe his alignment is chaotic neutral.
Oh,
which means that he can be unpredictable, and that his ethics don't fall in sort of the good or evil spectrum. And so, in lately, we've sort of interpreted that as being that it's hard to sort of pierce whether or not he has a code, or what ultimately drives what he does, and his drives may change from moment to moment. But we speculate that one of the things that does interest him is the nature of how the cosmos works. And so he is fascinated with tinkering with that and inserting himself into cosmic events to see what happens. So in that way, he can be an agent of chaos. He might send adventurers on a mission, for instance, without knowing exactly what the repercussions of that mission are, just to see what the response is. And that's, part of being brilliant and part of having a lot of time, an immortal life, basically. He's like all powerful wizards. He sustains himself through magic, longevity potions, and the like. He's never gone the path of the Lich. So that's
good.
So he's not all bad.
He's at least neutral.
Yeah, exactly. And I think by and large, he's probably done more harm or more good to the multiverse than harm. Maybe accidentally so, but...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So, but he is also just in his demeanor. He's kind of.
But if he comes into town, he's not going to be suppressed by any of the laws of the town or anything like that. He's going to do what his heart desires. And if somebody gets hurt, he might feel bad about it for a while, but he's going to move on.
Does he have any strong relationships? Does he have any people that he has known for a long time beyond the circle of eight?
Unclear. As far as I know, he's never had a family. He's had apprentices, but only scarce few. Mm-hmm. I think there's one mentioned in the early Wizards 3 articles named Ralphine or Ralphine, Bigby.
So Bigby was his apprentice. How did that work?
So originally, Bigby was a character created by Rob Kuntz, one of Gary's gaming buddies.
Oh, okay.
And because Rob often took over Gary's DMing duties, the characters didn't always interact, but they kind of lived in the same universe. But apparently there was a session where they were both able to get together, and they had a bit of a throwdown until Mordenkainen defeated Bigby, forced him into service, and then eventually, I guess, a friendship emerged out of that somehow.
Oh, okay. So they were adversaries.
They were adversarial, and then that turned into a Mordenkainen proved himself to be the more powerful wizard, and so Bigby kind of fell in line.
I see.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And you might know Bigby from Bigby's Hand.
Bigby's Hand, which in earlier editions was a multitude of spells. They were all separate spells, which we combined into one in 5th.
Which makes sense.
Yep.
Easy.
So Mordenkainen is still alive. He's still kicking, still traveling the multiverse.
Would you say he's if people wanted to stat him up now, is he a 20th level wizard? Is he a 30th level? What?
He is minimum 20th level.
Yeah. We don't really have epic level type things after that, but
not in this edition yet.
But he would be beyond
yes.
the normal scope.
Yes. He would be more than a challenge for our ancient red dragon or a Baelor demon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, does he also create spells still? Is that part of his love?
Presumably.
Is always experimenting and creating new things?
There are other Mordenkainen's blank spells out there.
That's a fun way to bring it into your campaign if you wanted to create a spell and be it's
possibly
Mordenkainen's
the most horrendous spell in the game is his. It's a spell that we haven't brought back to 5th edition, as far as I know yet, called Mordenkainen's Disjunction.
Oh, I remember this.
It's a very, very nasty spell. You cast it, and basically all magic items within a field are destroyed.
That seems like such a dungeon master thing to do.
Yes.
Gary Gygax.
So anybody who's aware of his gaming style knows that it's the penultimate or ultimate Gary Gygax spell.
You can't kill their characters. Fine, take away their magic items.
It's a real screw to players. Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah.
They won't be resurrected, those magic items.
So we have been hesitant to bring that bastard spell back into the game.
But
it typifies, it's like emblematic of Mordenkainen as a personality.
Yeah, that's true.
I like my magic items. I don't like yours.
Yeah. I'd much rather be on the one holding all the cards.
Yes, exactly.
That makes sense. So what are some other ideas that people might use to, if you like this idea of there being this uber powerful spellcaster like Mordenkainen can go from different worlds? How would other people want to bring them to their campaigns or their home settings?
I think that he is best as an instigator, somebody who can kind of get the characters on a course. He often appears in disguise when he's traveling abroad, so as not to attract attention to himself. And
does he have like one disguise, or
his common disguise is that of basically like a poor merchant, basically a badly dressed kind of scuzzy man that you wouldn't, if you were to look at, he wouldn't stand out in a crowd. He wouldn't strike you as being a particularly interesting personality. So he moves incognito in ways, whereas in real life he's actually quite flamboyant. If you've seen any art of him in the past, he's quite there's a bearing to him that's quite regal. He dresses flamboyantly. His robes and such are quite over the top,
and always neat, right? Like fastidious.
Yes. His look has changed over editions too. He went from having this sort of tangled black hair and a Van Dyke beard shot with gray to basically losing his hair, going bald, and having a sort of more Ming the Merciless presence. Yeah.
And that was more. Why did his did he grow up and he's like, I think I want to look more like Chris Perkins?
I think that they're just kind of too. There was a sense that somewhere along the line somebody just wanted to update his look, and so he got a bit of a refresher. And I think the first time his bald pate was figured prominently was on the cover of a 3rd edition book called Expedition to the Ruins of Greyhawk. And since then we've seen that look kind of become more prominent, and the older, younger Mordenkainen's look has not appeared quite so often.
I like, I don't know why, but my story headcanon is that he had a moment where he shaved everything off. And
that's
he
possible.
And
he is chaotic neutral.
You
never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's like that Royal Tannenbaum scene.
So I should point out, since it just occurred to me, that we do stat up Mordenkainen in Curse of Strahd, but he's done in a way that is meant to not take up a ton of space. And I think he's basically like the equivalent of a lich in power.
I see.
So he has been statted up in a form, but were I to actually create a character sheet for him, I'd probably go the whole 9 yards. And
it was mostly done just to make sure that, hey, if you get into a fight, here's what you need.
Exactly. We gave a certain amount of information so the DM could run a character who was super powerful and all that. But really, to do Mordenkainen justice, you have to build him up as a player character.
Interesting.
As he was always meant to be.
I love that he went from, the person who created this game's player character into being a big part of the lore.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else about Mordenkainen or his friends or apprentices before we sign off here?
His name has been pronounced Mordenkainen and Mordenkainen. As far as I know, both are correct.
All right. Which one does he prefer?
I would love to ask Gary to find out.
Oh.
Yeah. I think generally most people, I'd say maybe 80% of the audience calls him Mordenkainen. But if you do say Mordenkainen, okay.
Yeah. He's chaotic. He understands.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Awesome. Cool. Where can people find you to ask you questions about all of this?
I am on Twitter at Chris Perkins DND.
Awesome. You can follow me at Greg Tito, and that'll be it for this edition of Lore You Should Know. Check back next week for some more lore and or sage advice. Thanks, you guys. All right, let's do one more. Do you have time?
Blood War.
The Blood War.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so we are going to talk about a very fun subject about how devils and demons do not like each other for some reason. I'll ask you, why don't they like each other? Because... Welcome to another segment of Lore You Should Know. I am Greg Tito, and I'm joined by a singular lore master today. His name is Chris Perkins.
Hola.
How's it going?
Great.
We are here, as we do in many of these segments, to talk about little bits of Dungeons & Dragons lore that you can use in your game or just for your own edification.
I love dumping my brain out during these things.
It's got tendrils of brain matter all over these microphones, in addition to the other stuff we're talking about.
Indeed.
So today is a very contentious subject amongst fiends. It is the Blood War.
Ooh, the Blood War.
Which I don't think even before I started working here, I knew there was a name for this ancient conflict between devils and demons. Right?
Yes.
That's it in a nutshell. But why?
Right.
Why do they hate each other, these people? These creatures.
Because evil consumes itself. It's like every evil party of adventurers that you've ever had in D&D. They're basically on a ticking clock, a countdown to self-annihilation.
How can we screw this up more so?
Right. Yeah. I have yet to see an evil party that can basically sustain itself in perpetuity, without turning on one another and devouring each other. This is an amplification, I think, of that very concept. The nature that in the primal universe, evil comes in many shades, but you can't. They just simply cannot coexist for any length of time.
Yeah.
Now, the Blood War kind of traces its origins back to one of the earlier editions. I think it first really came out in second edition with the Planescape setting, and there was a product devoted to it, and then its name just started coming up everywhere, and it just sort of, I think the nature of the name Blood War is evocative enough that people are sort of intrigued to learn more about it.
Right. Like what? Whose blood?
Yeah. And sometimes I know they're a little bit disappointed when they find out that it's an evil on evil thing.
Right, you think it has to do with like a schism between races or something like that.
Right, yes. But what happens is the Abyss spawns an infinite number of devils constantly. And were there no powers in check to basically deal with that, demons would overrun the multiverse. But Asmodeus and his devils, who exist in the lower planes as well, realize this is a problem for them. And so they have basically forged a bulwark against the demonic invasion of the multiverse, because it doesn't serve Asmodeus's interests to let the Abyss swallow up everything. Not when he wants to control everything.
I guess, that's a fundamental difference between demons and devils. Is demons just there's no thought of what's going to happen after they consume.
No, demons are about
something.
Entropy and annihilation, and they have no will to do much other than to consume and destroy, and they give no thought to what would happen if they actually succeeded.
Yeah. Or they don't. If it is, they don't care.
Right. Their desires are insatiable, and they have no sense of real consequence to their actions. But devils, on the other hand, are all about power, control, tyranny, servitude, and they lose everything if the Abyss wins.
Right, because they don't want everything to be destroyed.
Right. The problem that devils have is they do not have a way to create new devils except through the acquisition of souls. the corruption and acquisition of souls. So in order to sustain their armies, they have to go out into the world and corrupt more mortals so that their souls go to the nine hells and become more devils. And so they're constantly facing attrition while the demons are just spouting out more and more and more of them. Now, one of the advantages that the devils have is that they're highly organized, regimented, structured. They've got a pyramid structure, Asmodeus at the top, lemurs at the bottom, and a firm structure all the way up.
Yeah.
Whereas demons tend to be completely in disarray, disorganized. They often fight amongst each other. That bickering kind of makes it hard for them to defeat the organized forces of hell, even though they often outnumber them dramatically. Mm-hmm. So what happens is demons come swarming out of the abyss. They go up the river Styx, which bleeds into the first layer of the nine hells, which is called Avernus, and there these great battles are waged, for the most part. That's not to say there aren't other fronts, but by far the biggest front is Avernus, and that's where and that's where the devils meet the demons head on. The devils raise their fortresses up along the river. They assail the demons as they come through, and they send wave after wave of marched souls and slaves and whatever else they got, hell engines, out to crush the demonic spawn that have intruded upon their plane. And
is this just a constant state of battle? Is there always this
wave after wave?
And it never stops.
It's never ending. The demons are unrelenting. So it is brutal and vicious, and that's why Avernus, the layers, just sort of littered with and just sort of strewn with the ichor of slain demons and the destroyed hulks of infernal machines that the demons have torn apart. And then sometimes if the devils are really brazen, they'll be able to corrupt an entire city and drag the entire city into hell, and then convert all of those forces into legions they can throw at the demons. Like there's just no end to the ingenuity that devils will use in order to get people to fight their war for them.
Yeah.
But that's essentially the fundamental nature of the blood war is the demons rush to destroy everything and the devils throwing themselves at the demons to stop it. Now, there are other wars fought against demons here, there, and everywhere, but on the grand scale, there's really nothing to compare with the magnitude of the blood war.
Interesting. Now, we have also mentioned Yugoloths before.
I'm glad you brought them up.
Yes, because how do they figure into this conflict?
So I mentioned that sometimes they'll drag a city in or something like that. Well, Asmodeus, crafty fellow that he is, Lord of the Nine, Master of the Nine Hells, he recruits Yugoloths as mercenaries and soldiers and drives them in droves against the demons as well. So you will often find Yugoloth companies in the Nine Hells fighting battles alongside the devils or separate battles in the layer of Avernus.
So even though by their nature Yugoloths are fiends that are neutral in the blood war, they will still just get the money and go wherever the money is.
And there are some demon lords who will have Yugoloths on their side as well.
Right.
If they can round up something that the Yugoloths want, would be a treasure or something else, they'll have Yugoloths on that side, and so you might have some Yugoloth on Yugoloth fights.
Yeah.
Each of them paid by the other side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of these ideas are so intrinsic to D&D itself. I mean, it's really the idea of chaos versus order.
Yes.
Which is really interesting to think about, because it's not just, with both sides being evil, there's not the morality. It's more of like the ideas of freedom, not chaos, but of regimented order and things like that. And those are ideas that can really be powerful.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make. The blood war is not a battle between good and evil. It's a battle between law and chaos. And so it's unusual in that way.
Yeah, it reminds me of Michael Moorcock and that's
very much so
vein of writing that it isn't the moralistic romantic fairy tale that a lot of D&D can be, and it's more about what would happen if there was the absence of morality and just
now you do see echoes of the blood war on other planes, like for instance on the material plane in a city. If there's a cult of Asmodeus operating out of Waterdeep, and they hear that there are demon cults spawning up in the city, you might basically see them throw down as well, because those demon cults represent an extension of the blood war. They could summon demons, and then suddenly you've got demons in the world to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, you'll often see diabolical cults of the Nine Hells come at them, and so a city might become embroiled in a blood war conflict between acolytes of the Nine Hells, devotees of Asmodeus, and the crazy demon worshipping cultists.
Right, because I mean, if the devils don't have those recruiting centers set up in places of population, then then
Where are they going to get their souls?
Where are they going to get their souls?
Exactly.
Right, exactly. So the demons, even though they can be a mindless kind of chaotic horde, they also have enough intelligent people, fiends on that side to be like, hey, we need to stop that.
If a demon lord hears that an entire city has fallen under the tyranny of a king devoted to Asmodeus, and that whole city might be corrupt, the demons might want to destroy it.
Right.
Because there's a million souls that will feed the armies that will come at them later.
If we're going to pick a target, let's pick one that the other side of the blood war has got control over. Yeah. Why not? That's interesting. So shifting tracks a little bit to Out of the Abyss. There was demons. There was like the last time there was a lot of stuff written about demons in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Why didn't the devils get involved when the demons were rampaging through the Underdark?
That's a very good question. And actually, what we have talked about, this is a little behind the curtain peek.
Yeah.
When we were formulating the Out of the Abyss story, it was kind of part 1 of 2. And the second part would be dealing with the devils and how they respond.
Okay.
And the way we had sort of sliced it is the demons are boiling into the Underdark and all kinds of things going on down there. The second half of the story is the devils are trying to take over the surface. So you would have basically, the plane of the world kind of serving as the barrier between these two evil forces. And so one of the ideas we have is a story or stories that focus on Asmodeus stepping up to the plate.
Oh, I see.
And coming to cities in the Forgotten Realms, saying, you guys have a real problem. Demons have basically run roughshod through the Underdark, and they could boil up at any minute. I can help you with that.
I've got just the thing. All you need to do is sign this, or something like that. Right.
So, but he's waiting for those demons to boil up.
Right.
Because as the pressure builds and the terror mounts, that's when he moves in as Mr. Nice Guy and gets what he wants.
So the answer to the question is, why weren't they involved, is because of the player characters.
Right.
The player characters kept
They kept the lid on the pressure cooker.
Exactly.
But if they ever step away and go off and do other things, like go to Chult or whatever, get dragged into Barovia, if the demons do come up, that's when Asmodeus is going to show up. And
you guys.
He's going to be a great
all
guy.
along.
He's going to be a wonderful, wonderful person. He's going to come in and, he's going to solve all your problems for you.
I love that you're getting at the characterization of devils in that way. I mean, that is such the quintessential thing, is that like, hey, I'm a nice guy.
Oh, yeah,
I can help you.
We've always described, in 5th edition, even though we haven't released much material about this yet, we often write documents that we keep in-house until such time as we have an opportunity to use them.
Right.
And we have extensive material on Asmodeus and his motivations. And we've always described him as being the nicest, most helpful person you'll ever meet in your life. He's the guy he's the ideal mentor, who owns the big yacht, who lives the partying lifestyle, but will do anything for you.
Yeah.
And there's no pretense about his goodness or his generosity. He is generous. He is a nice guy. He is the nicest guy. He rules hell, and he'll take souls, but that doesn't mean he's not a nice guy.
Right. He's doing it for you. He doesn't really want to do it, or at least that's all he puts forth until like you anger him or the temper breaks. Then you're like, all right, all the cards are off.
Exactly.
But initial contacts are going to be like, why don't we just agree to that? I'm just going to sign this because it's got a lot of good things going on in it. Right.
Yeah. He'd rather see you fall to your own failings than to push you off a cliff.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned how there's that structure of like there's him at the top and then the ranks down below. Like how you want to talk a little bit about how those are defined and what that means?
Essentially that it's like a king in a court. Asmodeus is the king, often challenged, but has never been knocked off his perch. He has dukes and archdukes and archduchesses underneath him that he appoints as stewards of the other layers of hell that he does not directly sit on.
Mm-hmm.
There are 8 other layers.
You see, he's on the bottom layer?
He's on the bottom layer, called Nessus, the 9th layer of the 9 hells.
Mm-hmm.
And he appoints vassals in the form of these archdukes and archduchesses to rule the other layers in his name. They must heed him, or he will replace them, as he has done on many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And they have under them, these archdukes and archduchesses have dukes and duchesses and viscounts and counts and generals and, commanders, and there's entire military structure under this nobility.
Mm.
And
so it's feudalism. It's basically like...
Yes, it's
like
absolute feudalism.
Yeah.
In its sort of purest, most avaricious form.
Mm.
And so there's constant political backstabbing, treachery, devils trying to rise through the ranks by seeing their graders fall and embarrass themselves.
Interesting.
And then you've got the armies, and they're sort of the dregs of diabolical society who are basically consigned to serving a function in a force, and they really don't have much opportunity for ascendancy unless a devil sees something in them. A higher level devil sees something in them and promotes them, and then they transform. A devil will transform into a higher form if it earns a promotion.
Oh, okay. And it's just an automatic, like,
Right.
okay, because you are
Yes.
of this rank, you
So
are
an
of this form.
Aranese devil, for instance, who are these marshals who sort of control large forces on the battlefield, they can be promoted to, I believe the next stage up is Ice Devil. So they are physically transformed into this giant insectoid reptilian
Interesting.
devil
Right.
that has more power and clout within this feudalistic society.
Cool. And then, in contrast, the demons is basically flat organization, right? Where it's all the demon lords are on the same plane of... when we kind of say Demogorgon is above...
So demon lords are kind of measured in terms of their raw power.
Okay.
The Abyss has created... There's little rhyme or reason to how power is distributed throughout the Abyss. Some demons are created to be immensely powerful, and some just minor things. These immensely powerful ones will kill other demons and whatever it takes to crawl their way to the top, and other demons will serve them out of fear
Right.
of having their little bones crushed. But there's no greater structure, and there's no singular being at the top who's calling the shots and sending demons here, sending demons there. Every demon lord's got his own shtick, her own flavor, her own desires, her own form of entropy.
Yeah.
And they kind of all go off and do separate things and never consult with each other. And if they encounter each other, they're probably going to fight until one of them gets killed.
Yeah.
Devils, it's much more political.
Right. They will do that same thing, but they will do it behind your back.
Yes. Yeah. You won't know when it's coming. For the most part. Now, we're sort of straying a little bit, but there are some weird birds out there. The demon lord Grazit, for instance, is peculiar because he was a devil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was a devil who tired of he felt like he wasn't being recognized by Asmodeus.
Uh-huh.
So when he was sent into the Abyss to slaughter demons in Asmodeus' name and take the fight to the demons, he decided, I'm much happier here. I can carve out my own domain here, beat these demons into submission, and basically rule my own layers of the Abyss. And he's basically conquered 3 layers that way. And so he is a devil who basically transformed in a way, or was transformed through his exposure to the Abyss into a demon lord, and has now nested himself there, forsaking Asmodeus forever.
And Grazit is also he's always pictured as like a male seductor.
He's this ebony-skinned, horned being with cloven hooves, 6 fingers on his hands.
Oh, so that's where the cloven hooves comes from, is kind of the devil that's left. But
if you look at him, you would think devil.
Uh-huh.
His bearing, the way he thinks, is very not demon-like.
Got it.
Interesting. But he has survived in the Abyss and probably will for the foreseeable future.
Nice. All right. Well, I like all these ideas. I mean, I feel like there's ways to infect all of this into any kind of game that you're playing. As far as there being a cosmic battle going on beyond the realm of the player characters. There's always something to kind of allude to, just in like broad strokes.
Or just this idea that there are demons at the gate, and Asmodeus or one of his vassals shows up and offers a way to keep them at bay.
Right.
But the price you have to pay may be too great for your soul.
Yeah. Some really cool ideas there.
Yeah.
As well, I mean, I just like the cosmic of like, oh, that's always happening in the background. Maybe we won't even experience it, in this campaign or this story. But there's that idea that like, Michael fighting the devils, the Michael the Archangel kind of, you feel
another infernal iconoclast that we hope to talk about more in the future is Zariel. She is the Archduchess of the first layer, the layer of hell that's always under siege by the demons.
Right.
She used to be an angel.
Fallen angel story.
She's a fallen angel story. So just like Grast is a sort of a fallen devil, in a way.
Yeah.
She is a fallen angel. It's sort of a rare glimpse into how the angelic, the upper planes, view the blood war. Because the blood war is mostly playing out down in the lower planes, and it's been more or less confined there, thanks to Asmodeus's efforts. The upper planes have been more sheltered from this. And most angels are like, we're happy leaving that fight down in the lower planes. Zariel is one who wasn't.
And then she got corrupted.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
She signed one of those contracts. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's another topic.
It seems like another topic.
We should jump into the upper planes because I didn't even realize how they were interconnected so much.
Yeah.
So. Another lore you should know topic coming at you pretty soon in a next week. So that's tons of fun stuff. How can people ask you questions? What's the best way to get in touch with you, Chris?
I am on Twitter at ChrisPerkinsDND.
Awesome. You can ask me any questions about lore or anything about Dungeons & Dragons at Greg Tito. And, of course, go to your local game store to pick up a copy of Out of the Abyss. If you want to find out about Demon Lords, all the ones that we've talked about, there's definitely a lot more information about them there.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back with another lore you should know next week. Sweet. That's awesome.
That was dense.
That was dense. But I liked it because there's so much. Like the 9 hells, there are so many layers to pull back and find out more. And I didn't want to get into it too much, but like the idea of like, that the devils is the embodiment of the Christian devil in a way too. It does feel like it is. Oh, that's the Al Pacino in
Temptation.
Right, and being the nice guy. And feel like that. Like that's a lot of the way modern portrayals of of Satan have kind of.
And if you've seen pictures of Asmodeus, he is basically Satan.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But you can kill him, kinda.
Well, it's hard with. Actually, he's a god, so even if you kill him, he's probably still going to be around.
I guess that's true.
That's one of the reasons why none of his archdukes really have any hope of ever dethroning him.
How did he get godlike status?
Worshippers.
Oh, it was back to the second edition idea of like if you get X amount of...
Yes. If you have a critical mass of worshippers, their faith will imbue you with godlike power.
So even if you're quote unquote killed, it still won't matter because you can...
Correct. You're essentially reformed because the faith is still there.
Yeah. All right, so we got to kill all of the supporters of Asmodeus.
Yeah, if you can find them. If you wipe out his entire religion, you might be able to kill him. Good luck with that.
All right, so I don't normally take too many questions from the thing for this, but because Holly is in here, Chris, is Strix related to Satan? With alarm bells going off. TBD.
If by Satan you mean Asmodeus, then yes.
Oh no! All right. Well, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yeah. no problem.
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's sweet.
Honestly.
Yeah. He really,
Yeah.
You kind of want to drink with him. You want to.
That's right.
Share some wine.
Yeah. He might be me.
So Des Camera Action comes back tomorrow. We got Rachel Seeley guesting again.
Yes, from Girls Guts Glory. Yes, she'll be reprising her role as Miranda, the elf druid with the Vegapygmy army.
Veggie Pygmy. I want a Veggie Pygmy army.
And they're going to need all the Veggie Pygmies they can get.
It happens.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we'll be back 4 p.m. tomorrow for that. And thanks for coming in. Good
Thank
stuff.
you.
Thanks for covering for Matt in his absence. We got to get him in here because I know he wants to talk about some fun stuff.
Yes. We were going to talk about some other things, but I know that they're near and dear to his heart. So
Exactly.
save those topics for a later date.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, you guys. You can take off, Chris.
right.
But what we got going on tomorrow is a whole bunch. So we have Dragon Plus starting at 2 p.m. Tomorrow here on the D&D channel. Bart Carroll will be talking to Doug Davison from Fantasy Grounds and teaching Bart a little bit. You'll be sharing the screen with Fantasy Grounds that's going on there, which is awesome. And then also doing an interview. Did we get the name of the artist? I keep forgetting. Adam Rex, that's right. We have an interview with Adam Rex, who is the illustrator of some children's literature, but he did the awesome cover for the now most recent issue of Dragon Plus, which you can check out in the App Store. It's available on iOS, Android, and on the web at dragonmag.com. Good stuff there. I will be in the chair here talking D&D news from 3:30 to 4, warming up the chair for Chris Perkins and the rest of the Waffle crew, which should be tons of fun. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then we have, I don't think there is a Sirens of the Realms tomorrow because they finished up, and I think they're done with their Q&A, correct? Yes, that is true. So we are in talks with them. So yeah, hey, maybe we'll just we'll get a second season of that show coming up pretty soon. On Wednesday, we got Misclick's D&D Risen. I believe they are finishing up this week as well, as in addition to Maze Arcana Fury's Fate with DM Rudy Runberg. Thursday, we have Codename Entertainment talking about Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. If you haven't checked it out, go check out Twitch Plays Idle Champions. It's twitch.tv/Twitch Plays Idle Champions. It's good stuff. You can play that game using the chat commands that they have identified for you. It's pretty cool stuff. If you don't know what that game is, you send them out on adventures. You send your party out on adventures. You recruit specific heroes, some of which are in Force Grey, some of them you might know from Dungeons & Dragons lore in general, including Minsk and Boo, my personal favorite. And you send them out on adventures, and they collect loot and do lots of bangy bang stuff, all in real time. So it's kind of like this thing you can check in and then send them out and then come back in and be like, look, I have all this amazing loot, which is really cool, and level them up and get them better. Critical Role's new show, new campaign is on Thursday at 7 p.m. We're hosting here. If you have checked out Critical Role before on the Geek and Sundry channel, you know that their chat can get pretty fast. There is a lot going on when that many people are watching all at once. So pop on over here to the D&D channel. You'll have all the D&D chat friends that you have right now talking about what's happening in the Critter universe, which is pretty cool. So I suggest if you want to get in some nice Twitch chat during the show Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, come in here and hang out with us. And then, one final thing I want to note was that Encounter Roleplay is starting up this Saturday at 3 p.m. That is Will Jones from that from Encounter Roleplay doing some stuff. So that they've been out for the last month or so, but they'll be back in the thing. What's going on with you, Mr. Trevor?
Nothing.
All right, good. Just having fun.
I'm going to talk to you. I know where you are right now.
Oh.
I'm just going to wait.
Oh my gosh. That means it's important. So we're going to flip tables. I just want to say thank you guys to everyone who has subscribed. You are all amazing people. Get the word out if you can about what's happening here on the channel. You are some of our best proselytizers of what's happening. One of the ways you can do that is through clips. You can take individual clips, 30 to 45 seconds is probably the best, something short. Post that on social media, tag me in it. I'll retweet and amplify stuff from this show, stuff from Dice Camera Action, stuff from Dragon Plus, all the shows that we have on here. Please do that. I know there's lots of fun things that happen, especially when there's a song or some kind of really funny joke. Always great to kind of spread the word about what's happening here on the D&D channel. I think that might be all I want to mention. I wanted to say congratulations to Kate Welch, who is accepted the position for a new RPG designer here at Wizards of the Coast. We're really excited for her to start, and I'll be ramping up. Hey, we'll probably have her here and doing an interview pretty soon. She's got to get to work right immediately, so it might not be right away, but we're excited about her coming in to the office and making some great RPG books here in Where are we in? Renton. We're in Renton. Renton, Washington. That's where we are, people.
No tea.
Woo! Yeah, it is Monday. Speaking of which, I need to drink some more coffee. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for being in the chat. You are fun folks. And I will see you tomorrow for 2 p.m. Pacific time on Dragon Plus. And I'll be doing D&D News at 3:30, so I'll see you there too. All right, bye, everybody. Have a great evening. And, gosh, I really do need to do the Rocks Fall thing again, don't I? I'll just roll a dice instead. I got a 6. 6, the mark of the beast. All right, goodbye, everybody.